listening to the Iterators of the Imperium.
Hi, I'm MEZ, and I'm here with my co-host Ryan, and you're listening to Season 3 of the Iterators of the Imperium podcast, the podcast in which Ryan is the expert on Warhammer 40K, and I am the noob trying to learn about the Warhammer universe. And as you guys can see, we do have visuals on our podcast, and this goes for both YouTube and on Spotify. And as you guys can see, a little change. If you've been watching or listened to the series here in Season 3, you can see now there's flames, and there's a specific reason why there is flames in our studio. Do you want to explain, Ryan?
Yeah, it's because we've finally gotten onto the Traitor Primarchs. So it seems kind of on brand.
Exactly.
You know?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
The ones who's been taken over by chaos. As I should probably say. I've been taken over by chaos. It's wearing me down.
Yeah, this is going to be 9 weeks of MEZ's fall into anarchy.
Yes. I mean, also in real life, because I'm sick.
God, if you're still ill 9 weeks from now, we need to call someone.
Well, then surely I wouldn't be taken from chaos or in chaos, right?
I think gosh. if you're still this kind of ill 9 weeks from now, it's official that Nurgle has you. You just become a Death Guard at that point.
See you in 9 weeks, boys. Next episode of Nurgle coming up. Daddy Nurgle got me.
Start of season 4. We've just got someone that looks vaguely like you in your place. Like, yeah, MEZ is off ransacking things in the name of Nurgle, so we've got John here stepping in.
John Doe. Just a classic name.
Yeah, it just looks vaguely like you.
Alright, let's get into it, Ryan.
Alright. Okay, so we have our usual setup, MEZ. In this episode, you are just an innocent little baby. You have no idea who you are or what's going on around you or any of the horrors or wonders of the galaxy. The year is somewhere between 700 and 800 of the 30th millennia. Slaanesh has been born. The Eldar are totally effed because of that. There is a big hole in the middle of the galaxy now. That's a new thing. People are dealing with that, I guess. Kadia's having an absolute nightmare of a time with a new purple ball in the sky. You know, there's that. The Emperor of Mankind back on Terra has finally unified humanity into one cohesive force after burning down the last church, which apparently was the last thing he had to do. And now he is ready to go off into the galaxy and, you know, do his thing.
Yeah.
But none of that has anything to do with what we're talking about today.
Absolutely not.
We're talking about where you landed after being yeeted through the warp in your little incubation pod. And right from the heart of Terra and the Emperor's Gene Labs, you got yeeted and landed on this planet here.
Ooh.
This is Chthoniya.
It's very beautiful.
It's a very nice planet. Actually, it's quite a bland-looking planet, I'll be honest.
You think so? I think it's beautiful. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm more into the ones that are like the grasslandy ones. They look a bit more impressive to me. This just looks like a ball of dirt.
Golden dirt.
There's no fancy colours or anything. It's just kind of dirt.
Nah. I like it, though.
That's fair. Well, we'll see how you feel about it by the end of this.
I'm probably not. I don't like it.
So, you probably got yeeted the least distance. Well, arguably, compared to all your brothers. Because you are basically one system over from Terra. Right?
Oh, I'm close.
Yeah, you're close by. You're still in the Sol segmentum, which is like the kind of center space of the galaxy around Terra.
Yeah.
So you're still in the same area, which is impressive.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah. So this is a human-inhabited mining world, right? But because it's so close by, it has been for millennia, right? Like, before the Age of Strife, like, probably before Dark Ages technology, this world has had humans on it because it was so close by. And it was a very resource-rich planet. Plenty of minerals to mine. So the Mechanicum obviously landed on it and mined the shit out of it as soon as they possibly could. So,
of course.
So by the time we get to this planet, it's basically been totally mined out. But because it was so close by and it was an Imperial world, it is a hive world. It has the kind of sprawling habitation blocks and things like that are like packing people in like sardines. And it has massive industry for dealing with all the resources and stuff. But now all of that's gone, so the industry is falling into like decrepitude. It's all falling apart and doing nothing, and has been for thousands of years. So the Imperium basically don't give a shit about it. So it's kind of just an abandoned rock, and that's basically how you should consider the people on it as well. Because the planet is basically ran by techno-barbarians that are all just in gangs constantly fighting each other, like Mars was for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically just like feral gangs constantly battling to the death all over this planet. So that's fun. Yeah, basically most people on this planet are going to die in some gang-related warfare. That's the way it is when you land on it.
Yeah.
So, when you do land on it, right, your incubation pod and you subsequently, are found by a man named Kagedon, which sounds weirdly like Armageddon, which is probably not good, but So, this dude was a vicious warlord, right? Vicious gang leader warlord. Found you and was like, oh, I'm having that. And just started raising you as his own. Like, cool, space baby, having that. It's got to be tradable for something, or, it'll at least not be boring, right?
Yeah.
So, this dude took you in, raised you as his own, and as part of the gang. So, the whole gang was kind of a family to you, as close as you could get anyway. But this guy was dad. And he named you Nergui. Yeah.
Okay.
Right? That is your name. Now, that name probably doesn't sound familiar, especially in a season around the Traitor Primarchs where you would recognize the names. And it's not like the Space Wolves thing where it's like a mistranslation. No. This is your name. But
my real name.
You get another name.
Okay.
So, like, the Blood Angels do a similar thing, right? So, there's a book called Dante, which is about the leader of the Blood Angels in the modern day, right, in our current age. And in that book, it tells you the story of a kid named Lewis, who goes on this big adventure to become a Blood Angel, and all this horrible stuff he goes through to, just get a chance to try, never mind to actually be a Blood Angel. And there's a thing on their worlds where you have your normal name, and then you get an angel name as well, which is the name you take up if you become an angel, which is what they call the Space Marines. Emperor's Angels. So they have two names as well. So it's quite a common thing, actually, in the galaxy, where different cultures have these weird traditions of having an original name and then a subsequent name for, an achieved rank or something like that. So, for the gangers of Chthoniya, the thing that gets you your other name is taking your first life. Just your kill name.
Okay.
Killing is a huge part of this. They're literally gangs desperately trying to stay alive. If you don't murder, you're not much use to anyone. So, you have to murder someone to get a Ponte name. So, you grew up and you fought alongside, your father and the gang, and you're constantly waging wars against the other gangs and stuff like that, and raiding anyone you could for their stuff, because, well, you need stuff. It's basically as simple as that. You needed some stuff, they had stuff, you took it, right? Now, your storyline is quite a bit, or in the early stages, quite a bit shorter than most, right? All the other Primarchs were like full-grown men by the time they were found. You were not, right? So I want to just give you an idea of a timeline for this storyline, right?
Yeah.
This isn't long, because you were not a full-grown man by the time the Emperor found you, right? I'm pretty sure Vulcan gets to that stage in 3 days, which is weird. Sanguinius, it was like 9-year-old, and he was the size of an adult.
Yeah.
So the aging process is wildly questionable for these kids, right? So you were still like, I would guess a young teen kind of size when you met the Emperor, or like a grown teen, somewhere in there, somewhere in a teen kind of thing, regardless of how many years had actually passed. That was the kind of scale of you. You were still you're very much still growing when you met the Emperor. Yeah. Just so you know, just to give you an idea. But anyway, so basically you grew up murdering alongside that, or fighting alongside that. But things kind of changed eventually when one day you found a bunch of these machine men that rule Chthonia, right? But they were tinkering and kind of inspecting the incubation pod you landed in. Naturally, you were like, get the fuck away from my pod.
Yeah.
And you started attacking them.
As you do.
Yeah, but you were alone at this point, right? I'm guessing you had been going to visit the pod in particular, and they'd been fucking around with it when you got there. So, you attacked them. You managed to murder one of them and take his weapon as like a trophy, and then bailed out because you weren't going to kill all of them.
Yeah, just as a deterrent.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Like, I've killed one of you. If you keep coming, I might be able to get the rest of you, I don't know.
Yeah, it's your own fault.
Exactly, basically, yeah. So you stole his gun after you killed him and bailed back to Dad and the gang for safety, I imagine. And now you were like, just took my first life. Like, I get my kill name now. Fucking go me, right?
Yeah.
When you get back and you tell Dad, Dad is raging. Kagedon is really pissed off with you.
Okay.
Because the machine men that rule this planet ain't gonna take that sitting down. They're gonna follow you back and kill all of them now. You just led them to your home, and now everyone is forfeit. They're not just after you anymore, it's everyone's involved.
Well, that's not good.
No, it's not great. No, it's not ideal.
But still, right, with my destiny, what I'm destined for, with my powers, even at a young age, Ryan.
Right, let's keep in mind, you are one of the traitors, though, so what you're destined for is not great.
Okay, never. You know what I mean. At this point in time, right?
Yeah.
I was not I was innocent, but I was still strong.
That's fair. Yes. Hey, as the Inquisition says, innocence proves nothing.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
So there's a bit of like an argument back and forward between you and Dad until the ceiling of the cave you're in starts crumbling and falling down and crushing people. Because it turns out that the tech priests that are drilling in from above are drilling in from above and are going to fucking murder you all.
Oh god, sounds like a bad day.
Yeah, so the cavern you're in just starts crumbling and everyone starts getting crushed around you. So,
that's not good.
So Kagedon kind of has a moment of realization where he figures out you're the only one that's realistically going to make it out of here, right? Because even as whatever age you are and whatever size you are, you're still tougher than all the rest of them.
Yeah.
Right? But there's also a side to it where even if you don't, he wants you to die knowing that he kind of respected you and kind of vice versa kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So he takes a knee in front of you and demands that you take his life. So at the very least, you will die with your kill name.
But I thought I got a kill already.
He's adamant it didn't count. That was the whole point of the argument, is that wasn't the kind of kill you're supposed to do, you nutcase. Please don't pick fights with a Mechanicum.
Well,
I know, but this was the point.
I feel like
it was meant to be a show of respect, and it turned out to just be kind of confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you did this. And when the Mechanicum finally broke in and the tech priests found you, you were the last one living in that cavern with your father dead at your side and your hands coated in blood. And they, capture you, take you from there, and when they question you and ask who you are and what you're doing and, what's going on, why you attacked them and all that, your only response is, I am Horus.
Okay. You see, there was some stuff that led me to believe it was Horus, but I didn't want to say it in case I was wrong. But the fact that you said, because I know Horus was the first one who encountered the Emperor. right? You have mentioned this before, Ryan,
Yes.
to me. But I didn't want to say it in case I was messing up because I always like mix people in my head.
Yeah.
Especially now that I was sick. But actually, I knew it was Horus. I had an idea.
Yeah, that's good. Well done. So the thing is
Hey.
that until it makes a lot of sense that these things have gotten kind of confused in your head until this point, right? Because we have
Yeah.
never went into any great detail. There was a few of them I'd given you like a couple of stories about. Like, you've obviously gotten a lot about Magnus because I never shut up about the guy. You got a fair
Yes.
bit about Horus, but only in the kind of latter end of his life. You know, once he turned into an evil
especially
nutcase.
the heresies.
Yeah. You got a bit about Gilliman, but again, that's latter end rather than early stages.
Yes.
And other than that, you got like one or two stories about random Primarchs. But there was loads of them, like Perturabo. We never even talked about Perturabo. I like told you his name once, right? So that's half the point of doing this season when we are. Because we could have been doing something totally different. We could have spent this season talking about orcs if we wanted to. But doing it this way and giving you a proper storyline for each of the Primarchs and stuff, one, it makes the chapters and legions and stuff make a bit more sense and kind of what they're all about, because they're kind of, they share the values of their fathers, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But also, it'll clear up any confusion between all the Primarchs, because now you have a clear individual storyline for each of them. That's the idea. So hopefully this whole thing of them all getting mixed up or not being enough to mix them up by anything gets cleared up after this season.
Well, fingers crossed. It is
Yeah.
me. My brain works in mysterious ways. That sounded cool, actually.
It did. It's quite dramatic. I liked it.
I mean, I have ADHD, but hey, that sounded cool. So let's go with that.
So, now, we don't know exactly what happened for a little bit here, right? After the Mechanicum kind of took a hold of Horus. I'm guessing they either left him alone or he murdered them.
Huh.
Either way,
think
it
the
doesn't
latter.
really matter, right?
No.
One or the other. He either basically told them to fuck off and they did, or he told them to fuck off and they didn't, so he killed them.
Well, let's be realistic, Ryan. It's Horus. It's the latter of those two options.
Nah, he was a pretty cool guy back then. He only became really murdery
Ryan-
later on. He
I
really
know, but
tapered
Ryan-
into the murder.
Ryan, the situation, right? They're trying to pin him down. Everybody's dead. He's the last one surviving, right? He's not going to be in a good mood, right?
No. Right, so
gonna-
this is the thing, right? Horus never did anything unintentionally. Right?
Yes,
He was
yeah.
very calculating in every action he did. So I would say that before they even broke in, that man had a plan.
Okay.
Like, he'd have figured it out. I don't know what he would have done, but he'd have had a seriously well thought out plan. There would have been a reason for every single thing he did. Might not have been a good reason. Now, we're going to like take a step off world for a little minute here, right? Because there's a bit of something interesting that goes on around this time, right? So,
Yeah.
do you remember who the Star Hunters were?
No.
So,
sorry.
the Star Hunters were the original name for the White Scars, Jagatai Khan's legion, right?
Yeah.
And remember, they were all scattered across the galaxy when he got his legion. He had to round them all up and make them all, slash themselves to join together.
Yeah.
Well, it's because they were designed to be like a scouting legion. They're supposed to be like pioneers. They go off and find the new planets and suss them out, and then report back to the Imperium to say whether or not they're worth bringing in, right? Now, one of those pioneer squads found Chthoniya, and I don't know, I've got a quote of the report that they sent back. The report they sent back on Chthoniya said it was a nest of serpents coiling in the dark that would be better to destroy. Yeah. So the Imperium was basically just like, alright, leave that for another time, not our problem just now. Until sometime later, when reports came in from the Mechanicus of this hulking beast of a human they had found.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so an envoy was sent from the Emperor to collect Horus, to collect you.
Yes.
You were then brought to Terra. The Emperor obviously recognized that you were a Primarch upon him seeing you. He immediately knew and explained the situation and what was going on and everything like that and what the plan was for you. And you took the knee and you pledged yourself to him. For as long as you live, you would be loyal to the Emperor. I want you to know, right? After saying that, I want you to know the first line of the first book of the Horus Heresy is the phrase, "I was there the day Horus slew the Emperor." So, it's not talking about the same guy, it's a different Emperor, but still. It's very misleading.
Oh, it is.
I opened that book, read the first line, and was like, God, they're really jumping to the end of this whole heresy thing. So I thought there was like 86 books in this shit. Why am I on the first line of the first one and they're already doing this? No, different guy. So, there was 30 years that you were at the side of the Emperor. You were the first son that he found. You were the first Primarch, as you mentioned earlier. And for 30 years, you were at his side before another was found, which was, as you'll know, Leman Russ, who you did not like.
Nope.
You're pretty sure he was just a savage. By the way, I meant to show you this earlier. Oh, that's the wrong one. This one? Oh, no, those are just as bad as each other. God, I put in the wrong pictures. Fuck it. There you go, there's Horus. That's before he's evil, kinda. Sorry, I had a picture of young Horus. I set up the wrong one on my hotkey. Now I've just got 2 pictures of evil Horus.
I get the picture.
Yeah, he's evil later, okay?
Yeah.
Fuck it, we'll leave up evil Horus. For drama. This is what you're building to. So yeah, 30 years you were fighting alongside the Emperor, learning from him, growing your bond with him. Not only did you, like, become friends, you also developed a proper father-son bond. Like, you got really close with Dad. And then Leman came along. You didn't like Leman because he was a fucking savage. But Dad told you to get along, so you did your best.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, in this point, or in this time frame, you were given the 16th Legion, which is your legion, the Luna Wolves, which is a cool name.
I like that.
Yeah. But that all came to an end at the second last battle you would ever fight with the Emperor, which was the Ulanor Crusade. Which, if you'll remember, is the battle that ended with Horus yeeting an orc warlord from the battlements.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, after that battle, the Emperor declared you the War Master of the Imperium. So you would be taking over the leading of the military side of the Imperium, so that he could go do his own stuff, which was, obviously, the Webway project in the Golden Throne Room. But he didn't want to tell anyone that, because then Magnus happens. So, realistically, if he had told anyone, that wouldn't have happened, though. So, not the best judge of character or situations, I'll be honest. This, for someone that can see the future, is awful at foresight. Or he's really, really good, and this has all been his plan all along. I don't know which.
You never know. Might be.
I like to think that if all the traitors had stayed loyal, at some point, they all would have, like, I don't know, something would have been horribly wrong because they were loyal, so he had to turn half of them evil so that half could, like, come back at some point. I like to think that's what it was. Like, I like to think someone would have set up a really basic crossbow trap, like a tripwire or something, and then one by one the Primarchs all would have ran in to try and save the day and got shot in the face. And that just all 18 of them dead if they'd all stayed loyal. So the only way to keep like 6 of them alive is to make them all turn evil. I'm sorry. I'd love it if it was something that stupid. Anyway, so we've kind of covered the whole heresy thing to some degree. At least like the highlights of Horus's bits, right? Because we covered 3 episodes of Horus Heresy in season 1.
Yeah,
and
I remember. I mean, we are probably going to go into details in another season, right? But
well, the next season we're probably going to get a bit more detail of it, but looking from each legion's point of view of the situation, right? So we'll go into like the burning of Prospero properly, but we'll cover that in Russ's or in the Space Wolves episode and in the Thousand Suns episode from the two different sides. Stuff like that. So that's the point of next season, is to kind of fill in the gap, but also teach you a bit about the legions at the same time.
Yep.
So there's only so much we could really say here without basically flogging a dead horse, just repeating ourselves for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't want to just leave a gap in the middle of the episode, because that would be boring. So I figured, fuck it, we'll do like bullet pointed highlights of the Horus heresy, like the greatest hits of the heresy.
Yeah.
Yep. This is going to be missing some bits because there's a lot of heresy goes on and only so much I can be bothered to write down. So relevant stuff.
Yes.
So Horus gets promoted to War Master. Half of his brothers are pissed because of that. Half of them are pissed, or all of them are pissed at Dad for abandoning them. One of Horus's kids sees a demon for the first time. You lie to him about it not being a demon, because you're not sure what it is, but you're pretty sure it's a demon, but you don't want to say that, because demons aren't real according to Dad. Rogal Dorn gets called back to Terra to build defences. Lorgar lets his first chaplain Erebus out of a cage for 5 minutes, and he ends up stabbing Horus with a demon sword. Erebus then has you undergo a magic dream ritual to heal you from said stabbing that he caused.
I remember this,
Yep. In the dream, you are shown the future after the heresy. You wildly misunderstand that future. Magnus tries to save you. You tell him to sod off. You wake up. You start recruiting your brothers to become evil. Or evil brothers. Fulgrim gets possessed by a sword. For some reason, Fabius Bile puts a weird alien organ into Space Marines that lets them make like mad sonic attacks. Makes the first noise Marines. Or the Cacophony, as they're called. Yeah. We will cover what the Cacophony are properly in the Emperor's Children episode, because you're going to love them. I'll show you a picture of them at some point. They are hilarious. It's like if you let someone do character creation, kind of color staging and stuff for a Space Marine, but all of the accessories were stuff from Mad Max. So it's like a Space Marine that's purple and pink, and their hair's a rainbow, and they've got like a fire-spitting like bagpipe or an accordion or something, and they've got like a rainbow mohawk on their armor. It's very confusing. Yeah, but those dudes will fuck you up. So like they look ridiculous, but like don't fuck with them.
Savages.
Yeah, they can liquefy your organs by shouting at you. So like, don't let them shout at you, I guess.
Dangerous savages.
Yes. So
Stranger danger. Not yet.
Yeah, where was I? Fabius Bell makes those fuckers. You lie to Lehman Russ so that he murders Magnus. You use Istvan 3 to purge your legions of all the loyalists. Sometime around this point, Fulgrim is trapped in a painting.
I remember. Yeah.
A Death Guard commander escapes and warns Dad and Dorn, so that's bad. They now know you're evil. You use Istvan 5 to kill off 3 Loyalist legions and 1 Primarch. Magnus joins Zinch, kinda. Mortarion joins Nurgle. Angron joins Khorne, though honestly it may as well be the other way around, because Angron was really enthusiastic about that one. Lorgar just being Lorgar and tried to get revenge on Gilliman for burning his planet to the ground at the start. So he starts starts invading a bunch of the Ultramar worlds. So then the Ruin Storms kick up, which traps everyone in and out of Ultramar. Loyalists begin to group up in Ultramar, because there's a thing that acts as a beacon for it, so that they can't see the Astronomicon at Terra, but they can see this weird beacon that's within Ultramar, which turns out to be ancient Necron nonsense. But it means that a bunch of Loyalists just start rocking up in Ultramar, so they start to build like a little army there. Gilliman figures that the Emperor must be dead by this point, so he just starts a new Imperium with blackjack and hookers. and then make Sanguinius be the Emperor. So Sanguinius is Emperor of the Imperium for a little while, for the record. Along the way, Conrad Kurz is around there, fucking McGilliman, just being a terrorist. Perturabo traps Vulcan in a maze, and then you have the amazing "It's also a hammer" scene, which is fucking hilarious, by the way. Eventually, Horus goes for Terra. There's war. There's a little bit more war. A third helping of war. Angron is being an absolute nightmare on Horus's flagship, so they lock him in a little Tesseract vault thing, and then yeet him at the planet by launching him out an airlock, because he won't fucking play ball otherwise. He's just too angry. And at this point, he is actually a big winged demon, so you don't really want him terrorizing your ship too much.
Nope.
Like, the people running the ship are still normal humans, like, you kind of need them. It's like, dude, you just killed the guy that makes my coffee. Why are you like this? So he's the only one that can get the nutmeg right.
Oh, God, right.
Yeah, so that bit's hilarious. Eventually, Horus lowers the shields on a ship to taunt Big E into, a final fight. Obviously, Emperor goes for it. Final fight ensues. Emps is pulling punches, not wanting to kill his son, until Horus flattens a random nobody that stands up to him, which shows Dad how far he's kind of fallen. And then Big Emp's control deletes Horus's soul. And thus Horus is just a husk of a body with no soul anymore.
Yeah.
Heresy done.
Yep.
See, nice and easy.
War Master of Chaos.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know where you just pulled that line from. I've never said that to you once.
No, I think I've said it before.
I don't think I've ever said that. Like, it's totally correct. I don't remember ever saying it. Fair enough.
I mean, you called him War Master before.
Yeah, he is the War Master, but they call him the War Master of Chaos.
You've said that before, haven't you?
I don't know. I don't think I had.
Well,
you're just pulling stuff out your ass now, man. Well
call
done.
me, I guess. Hey. So welcome to the Iterators. I am the expert on Warhammer 40K.
As long as you're making it up as you go along, yes.
Alright, continue.
So that's basically the story of Horus, but there is a little bit extra that I feel like I have to put in after he's dead, because he's still kind of involved.
Yeah.
So, like, after the Emperor destroys Horus's soul, Abaddon, who was Horus's, like, first in command, or second in command, I guess, his first captain, Abaddon, like, escapes with Horus's body, and the remainders of the Luna Wolves, or, well, the Sons of Horus, which is what he changed the name to once he became evil, they all piss off into the Eye of Terror and become the Black Legion, right? With Abaddon the Despoiler as their leader. And they make a shrine on one of their worlds with Horus's body in it, and just keep it in stasis. So his body is kicking around for thousands of years until Fabius Bile, the guy who made the Space Marines have the alien organ so that they could screech into the 8th dimension, he and a bunch of the Emperor's children ransack the place and steal Horus's body. Because Fabius Bile is an apothecary, he's a medic, right? And he started experimenting with alien stuff and mutated stuff and shit like that back during the heresy. So now he's at a point that he's trying to clone Primarchs.
Yeah.
So we did mention this in the 13th Black Crusade. No, in the Black Legion episode before the 13th Black Crusade. That Abaddon murders this piss poor clone of Horus.
Yeah.
Fabius was actually able to use his body to make a clone of each of the Primarchs, all 20. Right? And he had them all in the incubation pods, like the Emperor did, and all this stuff. But before he could really get to a stage that any of them were viable, or really any of them were anything, Abaddon came for revenge and crashed a ship into the planet and destroyed this whole city, which was Canticle City. So So the lab got destroyed and everything like that, and Fabius just moved on with his life and set up somewhere else and gave up on the cloning thing. Because back then he was kind of an idealist. He thought if he could bring back Fulgrim and the other Primarchs, the galaxy could be set right. But now it's at a stage where he's just like, no, humans aren't going to do any good for this world, like for this galaxy. Humans need to evolve into something new. Something has to replace humans. Something better, something more prepared has to come along that'll have a better chance. So he just starts making new humans that are better. So that's kind of the last of the whole Horus thing. But there was something I mentioned a bunch of times that I can now answer, right? You know how whenever we've talked about Trazyn the Infinite, the Necron Lord that likes to play Pokemon?
Yeah.
Yep. I always said he has a clone of Fulgrim, but I don't know how. He got it from Fabius, right? So I finally bothered to read the trilogy of Fabius Bile novels a few months back, right? Or like a month ago or 2 months ago or so. That was a few months ago, actually. So I can finally tell you how Trazyn the Infinite got the clone of Fulgrim.
Oh,
it's because it turns out that while Fabius Bile abandoned Canticle City after it had a ship crashed into it, not all of the people abandoned it. A lot of them stayed and started rebuilding. So there's a bunch of like Emperor's Children leaders that have became like the remnants of this place and are trying to like rebuild the Legion basically.
Yeah.
So they forcibly drag Fabius back to Canticle City, which is now half wreckage because they're never about to rebuild it. But he goes back to his lab and finds that a bunch of the stuff, like the clones and mutants and shit he made, are still there. They're still, like, they survived somehow, but they've, like, moved into the sewers under the city. And while looking around his lab, he finds all the broken incubation pods. And he has a little bit of, like, mumbling about, like, the wasted time and, like, the wasted possibilities from them being destroyed. But then he finds one of them is missing. And he starts following all, like, the power cables and everything for it, because they've all been traipsed off in a different direction. Basically, the mutants and everything had taken the power cables from all the other pods so that they could move one of them further away, like, using the other cables to extend it, to keep one of them alive and hide it away from everyone in the sewers. It's because they didn't want to abandon his work. Even though they had no idea what was going on. They were like flesh crafted to help him with his work. Even though he was gone, they still tried to help. So they just picked the fucking incubation pod that he spent the most time looking at, which was the Fulgrim clone. So when he finds it, the pod has been active for like 1,000 years or 2,000 years, like ages, right? So it's a fully viable baby or like child Primarch now. And they don't start the rapid aging thing until after they come out of the pod. Part of it is it slows down the aging process so that they don't mutate while growing, right?
Yeah, the pod wouldn't fit then.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So he lets it out of the pod and basically just has a kid version of Fulgrim with him. And he like hides it away from his Legion and all this stuff on his flagship. He takes it with him and hides it from them all, and it just grows into the Fulgrim he knew, basically. But he doesn't want everyone to know about it. So eventually they end up on this planet, which is Trazyn's Vault World. So a bunch of them are off of the ship. And Fulgrim gets loose as a rebellion's going on and basically accidentally saves the day by just being the heroic figure a Primarch truly is. You know, the absolutely unabashed, clean-cut, original design of a Primarch, uncorrupted by anything. That's what he is. So when he gets free, he basically just starts saving the day. And eventually Fabius and his dudes get caught by Trazyn, who is just going to murder them all. And Fabius basically just bargains his way out of it. So they go back to the ship and find that Fulgrim has essentially rallied the entire remains of the Legion and like the crew of the ship and everything like that behind him as this awe-inspiring figure. And everyone's adamant that now they can rebuild the Emperor's Children as it was supposed to be and fix all the corruption and everything like that. Fix the galaxy. Like, the wonder that a clone of Fulgrim inspires in them makes them think they can do anything in the most idealistic way possible. And upon seeing this, Fabius is just like, no, I've been down this road before. Fixing the Legion isn't possible. The Legion is fucked. It's too far gone. We fell to chaos not because of Fulgrim not being good enough. We fell to chaos because that's who we are. We were always going to fall to this as soon as it was suggested to us. We were faulty from the beginning. This was always in us. Having a new clean-cut version of Fulgrim isn't going to fix that. All it'll do is we'll slowly drag him into it as well, until he becomes an exact clone of the current Fulgrim. Like, it's not going to work. We can't fix the Legion. We can't fix the galaxy. We need to start over. So he just tells Trazen to take him as payment. It's very heartbreaking, because Fulgrim's like, but Dad! He's like, nope, out.
Yeah, but
go with a stranger.
It'll only postpone the problem, you know?
That's it, yeah.
So... yeah.
It's honestly a wonderful book. But it's very heartbreaking. Good. It's heartwarming, a lot of it, because you get to see like Fabius being dad to his own dad, which is very sweet. But also it's very heartbreaking that at the end of it it's just like, none of you have learned anything from this. You're all just a fucking disappointment.
Well, Ryan, own up. Did you shed a tear while reading this?
No, I didn't. I've only shed a tear twice while reading Warhammer books. One of them was in one of the Ahriman books, and it was because one of them makes a joke, and it was he says something like snarky and bitchy, and it was fucking hilarious. So I was crying with laughter.
Okay.
And the other one is in Awakenings, which is a book about an Inquisitor called Astor Sabathiel, who basically dies and then comes back to life 100 years later. Not in the like Celestine way of like reincarnation, but like someone just finds her half fucked up body and saves her, but just keeps her in like in stasis for like 100 years, so that they can use her later on. But there's a bit in that where she, like, Inquisitors, they just round up a squad of weirdos, right? That's how they do things. They build their own little squad of mismatched freaks. They can just recruit anyone they want, so they just get freaks. And one of the people she has is a squat, so it's a space dwarf. And midway through the story, she joins up with another Inquisitor who has his own little retinue of weirdos, and one of them is an Ogrin. And obviously the squads get whittled away till they're about half of each acting as one team when they get to the ending of it. And at the ending point, there's a big monster being summoned, a big Nurgle beast being summoned from a corpse, and it spawns so many tentacles that they can't get past it to kill the body that is being summoned from to stop the summoning. Because the thing they're summoning it from is half alive. So if they kill it, the summoning should stop. Right? It'll interrupt the ritual. And they can't get past all the mad flailing tentacles to do it. And then eventually the squat is just like turns to the ogre and is like, throw me! So he just yeets him clean over the tentacles. It's just that whole scene of him being launched over it all, and they all just think he's dead, and then the next thing, like, the whole summoning thing stops, and he just wanders out with his pistol, covered in blood. It's like, I just killed one of the Emperor's chosen! Check me out! Because the body was a Custodes. He's like, have you ever met a squat that's killed a Custodes before? I fucking thought not! And that made me cry with laughter as well.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, when I asked you the question, I thought of like more the.
Yeah, no, I haven't found any that were so sad. I recently reread The Last Church, which is a little short novel. I would recommend you read it, which is just the Emperor in disguise going to visit the last priest on Terra at the Last Church. And he basically just has a chat with him for like an hour and a half, hears the whole guy's life and tells him what's going on and all that, and at the end reveals he's the Emperor and burns down his church. But it's really interesting. It's a really interesting book. Just the Emperor in disguise having this really deep conversation with this one priest.
Yeah.
But it really gives you a better idea of where the Emperor was coming from with his way of leading things, the direction he was leading things in. It's not like he's some god that knows anything, really. It's much more personal than that. It's much more that he wants to do these things and that he feels he needs to, rather than like it's preordained or anything like that. It's quite cool.
Yeah, sounds cool.
Yeah. I'm also in the middle or about to finish the trilogy of the Priests of Mars series, which are about the Mechanicum. They're fantastic. Few very funny bits in that, but that whole storyline, we're doing like a 4-parter on the storyline of those 3 books, because you will fucking love it. Like,
all right.
Like in future, I want us to do seasons devoted to each faction. They'll vary in length. They don't have to be like 15 episodes to a faction, but like I want to do a Mechanicum series, like season, in which we'll do like 15 episodes and we'll devote it to actual storylines about the Mechanicum and things like that.
Sounds good.
I feel like that'll be a really fun time to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll do it for all. We'll give you the Eldar ones and your Necron ones and everything else.
Thank you.
Infinite and the Divine is an amazing Necron storyline. It's about 2 Necron lords that are like, they kind of hate each other, but it kind of turns out to just be like a buddy cop like sitcom. And there's a point where they're on a world and they're going to see this event that's going on, and while they're there, a gene stealer uprising kicks off, and one of them turns to the other and is like, "Well done, you got us front row seats to a coup." Hilarious.
Fantastic.
There's so many good books, man. Got so much good stuff to cover coming up.
That's gonna be great.
It's gonna be so good. But that is the first of the Traitors.
Hey, let's get it.
Yeah. So we have one last thing we need to do. One last thing.
The tier list.
The tier list. So
The thing is, wait, where's Horus right now?
up here, first in A.
You know what? I think he stays there.
You think so?
I like Horus. I think he stays there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I like Horus.
That's fair.
I think he's a very interesting character. He's obviously pisses me off sometimes, but I think he's very cool. I don't know. I think he stays there.
Yeah, that's fair. I would not disagree with you. Like I said, I think the ones that are going to move the most, I think that Angron might move down the list a bit. I think that Mortarion will move up, and I would say Alfarius might move up as well.
Yeah.
Those are 3 movements I'd be fairly confident of. I think you're going to be kind of bored with Angron. Like you'll like his storyline, but I don't think you're going to like the character anymore at the end of it.
Huh.
Because it kind of just comes off like a petulant child. But he's not. He's got a really like heartbreaking storyline. His storyline is terrible, right? It's genuinely like the worst of all of them.
Oh god.
Arguable, maybe Magnus is on par, but Angron's storyline is like terrible. But I don't think you're gonna like him anymore because of it. I think you'll just understand him better, you know?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah, but I think like you'll like Mortarion. Mortarion's a cool guy, very cool, collected, determined.
Yeah. We have to wait and see.
That's it.
I mean, the list all up until now has changed a lot, actually. With the
there has been quite a bit of movement, yeah.
But first one. Yeah, but hey, let's see how it is in the end of the season.
That's it.
Yeah.
So would you like to tie us out?
Yeah. I was just about to. Well,
I beat you to it.
Thank you guys for listening to this episode of Iterators of the Imperium podcast. I do apologize for having been sick. If you guys have heard me.
How dare you?
I am sorry. I'm being taken over by chaos.
Damn you, Nurgle!
Damn you, Nurgle. But yeah, it's been me, MEZ, and Ryan, and we will see you next week. Take care and peace.
Bye!